The date is November 13th, 1938. The city of ChangSha, a city with over 2,000 years of rich Chinese history and culture, would be burned down to the ground. 30,000 civilians would die during this fire. The craziest part is it was the Chinese government that ordered the city to be scorched to the ground. So, how did China get to this point?
This is the story of the 1938 ChangSha fire. Over 2,000 years of Chinese history burned to the ground in 48 hours. Over 30,000 Chinese civilians are killed overnight. 56,000 buildings, which is over 90% of the entire city, were destroyed. The total estimated cost, adjusted for 2023, is over $1 billion US. So what happened? Why did Chiang Kai-shek order his troops to burn down the city? Let me explain. China faced the possibility of total annexation from Imperial Japan. It all started back in 1894 to 95. The territory of Taiwan would be lost to Imperial Japan during the First Sino-Japanese War. This is the beginning of the end of the Qing dynasty. Here's Hong Kong and Guangzhou, lost to the British then to the Japanese. So during the First Sino-Japanese War, both Koreas would be taken by Japan as well. It would enter its dark ages for the next 50 plus years. It's estimated that during this time period, over 200,000 Korean women would become the sex slaves of the Japanese soldiers. Millions of more Chinese women would fall to a similar fate. September 18th, 1931, the northern three provinces, Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Liaoning, this would become a Japanese puppet state known as Manchuria. Inner Mongolia would soon follow and become a puppet state. Peking, or modern-day Beijing, would be taken as well. A couple months later, the city of Shanghai would also fall to the Japanese. But the fact that China held on to the city for 3.5 months absolutely enraged the Japanese. This led to the Nanjing Massacre. This is the equivalent of Camp Auschwitz of China. The Chinese government is moved to the city of Chongqing, led by Chiang Kai-shek. Shanghai, Hangzhou, Nanjing, Hefei, Wuhan has all fallen. This is the Chongqing government. ChangSha is the next key major city in Imperial Japan's path to the Chongqing government. This is where the fire took place. The mighty Imperial Japan had total aerial and naval superiority. The troops all came from elite training academies with advanced training and equipment. There was no way China could match the might of Japan. During this period, millions of Chinese defected to Japan. So Chiang Kai-shek, he feared this. See, when the city of Wuhan fell, billions of dollars worth of wealth also fell to the Japanese. And around this time in a secret meeting, Chiang Kai-shek, he mentioned about the Russians' strategy during the Napoleonic Wars to burn down the entire city of Moscow. You see, during Napoleon's invasion of Russia, most of the 600,000 troops, they didn't die during battle. Most of the first wave died during the brutal summer heat. Then once they reached Moscow, the entire city was burned down to the ground with nothing left. Rest, they either starved or froze to death in the empty, cold, desolate capital. So the desperate Chiang Kai-shek decided this was the only strategy to stop the rapid advancing Japanese. He ordered his troops to burn down the entire city of ChangSha, just as the Japanese are arriving at the doorsteps, to ensure that the civilians can safely evacuate first. It is still a mystery to the present day how the fire first started. As I mentioned before, many Chinese troops have already sided with Japan. They have defected because they have lost all their faith and all of their belief in China. They thought Japan would be the future. So when they heard about the order, they decided to act ahead of time and caused a massive chaos in the middle of the night. Around this time, the city was already covered in gasoline buckets, so one match was enough to end it all. The date is November 13th, 1938. The fire would burn down the entire city. 30,000 civilians would become the victims of this fire. 48 hours of hell raged on earth in the city of ChangSha. The pain and suffering is unimaginable. 3 men were accused of causing the fire. To me, they were just scapegoats. They had to be executed in order to settle the anger with the general public. So this is the end of China's 5,000-year history, right? This is the city of modern ChangSha today. This city will forever be remembered in history. ChangSha would become the Stalingrad of the Asia Pacific. What happened in this city during the Sino-Japanese War was nothing short of legendary. Around this time, China began the strategy of 以空间换取时间, using space to trade for time. This was the #1 key to victory for China.
Thank you guys so much. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Have a good weekend.